Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining us for this, which is number 23 in our series of webinars. So today's webinar is about what's new in NavStation. We've made some major developments, so we want to show what's actually happening in the world of NavStation. Features, module updates, that's the key for today. So my name is Richard Northover. I'm the usual host for these webinars. I'm the Managing Director of NAVTOR UK. I've got colleagues joining, which I shall go through in a minute as subject matter experts. But just very briefly, I'd like to go through some housekeeping about the program we're using here for the webinar. It's called 23, not important, but it does have a number of things about it. So if you look in the top right hand of the screen, you'll see there's a questions tab. Please feel free to put questions at any point. This is where we hope you get the maximum value because we answer your actual questions. There's a chat functionality, and of course you can chat and leave questions there as well. It's better if you leave questions in the question section because then we can bring them live on the screen, and perhaps you're asking a question that everyone else is looking for as well. There are handouts which are indicated at the top right as well. They are our brochure, but also the Maritime Security brochure for information. Google Chrome gives the best user experience with 23 as a platform. So without further ado, I'll move forward and just show very quickly what we have for an agenda today. So today we've got my welcome, which you're listening to. We then move to Vladimir Kolyada, who is the product manager of NavStation, who's going to go through all of the latest features and updates. That'll be a rattle through. Following that, we're moving on to a deep dive into the Maritime Security module, the brand new module, and also then passage planning updates. And that'll be with Rama Bahl, who's the product manager for passage planning and e-navigation, and also the NavStation product expert, Viet. So we'll call him Vu for the rest of the day because my pronunciation is not great. And then we'll do a group Q&A and we'll move forward. So hopefully I've covered everything else there. The aim of these webinars has always been to share knowledge and to ensure that everyone gets the maximum value out of the full range of NAVTOR products and services we put out. So I'm going to move on from the webinar, from the agenda, and show you unapologetically the unique element of NAVTOR, our suite or our ecosystem. And I'm very briefly go through here, remembering always that NavBox is the center of everything we do. It transmits data to our system. So data that comes through is transmitted to NavBox, which onward transmits updates through to the ECDIS. Can be directly connected, or it can be transferred via physical medium of a nav stick. When the ECDIS has updates, that'll go back to the NavBox, but also the NavBox updates other systems or NAVTOR systems on board, digital logbooks, nav reporting, but most importantly here, NavStation. Any changes made will be reported back to NavBox and spread through back to the ECDIS, also back to the Nav Cloud, where we store all the data. Then it's accessible by all shore-based systems. That's NavFleet, NavFleet app, Nav Tracker at the moment, and NavTV to display all that real-time information for your team ashore. So unapologetically, I always show the NAVTOR suite because it is the core of everything we do. So I'd like to introduce you now to Vladimir Kolyada, who is the product manager of NavStation. He's going to go through NavStation 6.4, the release, and all of the latest features, updates, and new modules. So over to you, Vladimir.
Thanks a lot, Richard. Thank you very much. And now, welcome everyone. And here is the 5 words mantra is coming right now. Let me share my screen. There you go. You have it. So as Richard said, I will just serve all of us through the what's new things that we have achieved in the latest product, and we call it NavStation 6.4, which is just to keep the consequences of all the right order with respect to all the products we have got. So Yeah, I will not bore you a lot with the PowerPoint slides, so I will just do it pretty quick. But all those slides, of course, they will be shared after that webinar, so you will have access to all these fancy things. So I will start with this one, and then I will move into the live demo, where we will demonstrate those things that we achieved, those things that we developed. And to start with, let me just quickly go through all those things that we achieved and developed in the product. The first one is all about security. So we implemented the Maritime Security module, or the Maritime Security service, right inside NavStation, which makes it very transparent, easy, and and quick to understand what is happening right now in this shaky world. Next one is the multiple ports inside the passage plan. So traditionally, NavStation passage plan was consisting and locating only 2 ports. Now it can be locate multiple ports. So you can have some stopovers between your port of departure and final destination. Environmental regulation got also improved. So we implemented some new zones. We fixed some presentation things, and we also implemented the company rules. So now your shipping company can actually create a rule and send it over to your NavStation navbox. GRC user layers format is now supported, meaning that from now onwards, NavStation can actually handle both Actisys user layers formats for UNO and GRC. And of course, it's not the final destination. We'll continue moving on with this one. Extended port information, the database of all the ports is now complemented with the ADP and berth statistics with digital publications, mainly the radio signals, all volumes inside, and the berth statistics for the last year. I will demonstrate it over to you slightly soon. Maneuvering assistant got also some improvements. We will demonstrate it to you, and voyage debriefing form. So to finalize, to conclude the monitoring and execution when the passage plan is deactivated with the complete flag, your navigators can now do the debriefing form. What went good, what went not good, and so on. So my colleagues Rama and Vu will demonstrate it to you. Now, without further ado, Maritime Security Information, that's how it looks like. But the thing is that we implemented all those different incidents that are happening in the world right now, and this information can be updated pretty quickly. So I will not steal Rama's time. Rama will demonstrate it to us, but this one you can read all those benefits and values that this service brings to your vessels and to your captains as well. Passage plan, port of call, something like an intermediate stopovers, intermediate ports can now be added into the passage plan, and this is how will it look like. So the passage plan will actually display all this, reflect all this in a fancy way with respectful arrival and departure draft figures, because one thing you arrive, another thing you leave the port, right? So your draft can be different depending on the loading operations and activities with respect to bunkering, for example, or ballast waters or fresh waters, etc. And then the summary table looks like this, where we just list all those stays that we're gonna get. Voyage debriefing form, as I briefly mentioned, this debriefing form can be created when the passage plan is finalized, and this is how it looks like. What went good and what went bad during the appraisal, planning, execution, and monitoring. What can be improved, what can stay as it is. Steering mode. Now navigators can set up the autopilot or hand steering for the appropriate legs on their routes. Calculation got improved in terms of speed, and this is something like a summary table where we just would like to provide you with some figures for the passage plan calculation and recalculation if you did some updates to it. So the previous NavStation and the current NavStation 6.4, we actually increased it twice, which is pretty good. Route check results. There is a separate table that reflects all those navigational hazards that got detected during the route check, during the compulsory route check that is required to be done with each and every route and passage. Yeah, of course, port database, the internal port database got extended to satisfy the latest passage plan template. User layers, nothing to say about more, but just to mention that the GRC is now fully supported with appropriate objects and the different attributes to these objects. It is all here, and the picture on the left, this is a snapshot from the GRC itself, and picture on the right, this is NavStation picture. And then maneuvering assistant, we implemented inside the maneuvering assistant all the user layers that NavStation is having. So now we're slightly moving to this concept called Take Me Home, to provide the navigators with everything they planned and everything they use for during the monitoring and execution inside the maneuvering assistant if something went wrong with the main ACDIS. And also the monitoring panel got slightly extended. We added here the distance to go and time to go to a waypoint, which can be selected from the drop-down list. And you probably see it on the picture here. Next one is environmental layers. So we actually got an update, huge update to the map. And now the new map is consisting of a lot of additional zones and special areas, and we also fixed some of the presentation. And this is one of the example for one of the island next to Madagascar. Yeah, there is a new Mediterranean ECA which got implemented in Mediterranean Sea in May last year. Now it is, of course, available in NavStation, and it's there since May last year, to be quite honest. Company rules, something that shipping companies can plan and create their own rules for the disposal of pollutants, and these rules can then be sent to the NavStation directly without any need for additional, PDFs or phone calls or emails, etc. Extended port database, we actually combined the detailed information about port with the digital radio signals, all volumes plus the total tide, and these are just a different presentation of how this information is provided inside the port database. And berth statistics, you see those rectangles. These are the berths for the area in Port of Bergen, and with this one we can clearly see the dimensions. There is the textile information given to this one. And this information is provided to us during the last 12 months. Yeah, and these are just the different examples for the different ports in the globe. Yeah, moving forward is the general product improvements. Route library, Vu will demonstrate it to us. Charts, they are now updated on the fly. So previously, to get the latest charts update, you needed to restart NavStation, and that was pretty awful. Now you don't need to do it. Everything is done on the fly. So charts will be automatically updated while you're having your NavStation running 24/7. NavStation installation got simplified. Now NavStick is not needed to get it installed. AS tracks improved. So say if you're in a dense area, you have 100 AS trucks and the AS targets, and all the tracks are also simply saying cluttering your screen. So by selecting the target on the list, we will see only pass track for only this target. So again, this is just for the sake of simplicity and for the sake of usability of the product in a whole. Installed chart boundaries, they can now be displayed, right? So you don't need to go into NavTracker, for example, to understand if this or that canal or strait are covered with charts. You can simply toggle on this flag, and then you will see all the boundaries right inside NavStation. Bearing and distance to own vessel from your cursor, and it's shown on the top right corner. It's pretty hard to see it on this screen, but I will show it live. Day and dusk switch between day and night can now be done right from the chart panel. And these are just a few examples of it. Status page is extended with more information, and this is all about appraisal stuff, just to understand if I'm fully up to date or not, which is pretty important, right? When you have, for example, vetting on board. And Also, you can generate the charts list from the status page. And last but not least is the spot weather. So we added this window that reflects the weather parameters right under your cursor. Okay, so that was the PowerPoint slides. And now let me just quickly run through all those improvements and all those things we added inside NavStation. I am now sharing you the pretty famous dashboard details of NavStation. You see my screen, you see the mouse, you see everything. So we're what we added here, actually nothing big new except this thing you see, Maritime Security. So Rama will demonstrate what is this, and this is all about those things like accidents, terrorist attacks, military operations activities throughout the whole globe for the last year. And yeah, then this one, status page. The appraisal thing. So now the status page is actually reflecting the, of course, the technical information about my versions, about the passage plan template that I'm currently using, and the data. So I can clearly see what is the last week that my charts and publications got updated. I can generate the detailed chart status report by the route, for example, and this is called ENC route filtered report from the ECDIS performance standard. Extended port status, environmental regulations, you see nothing is given here because it's not displayed, but this can easily be changed. And then 3 last, maritime security, Navaria, and weather. We give here the date and the timestamp because this information is dynamically changed. And for example, this maritime security, you see it got updated just 2 hours ago or even 1 hour ago. And this can be updated even more frequently. Right, so let me just jump directly into this one, the environmental regulations. So it's just a disclaiming message, but when it comes to environmental regulations, this is all about pollution, different rules around what is allowed to dispose in that place, what is not. And we actually added here is the rules that may be coming from the shipping company. Yeah, I'll just leave it loaded for some time. Nice, there we go. So, example is this vessel is inside the Mediterranean Sea. And look what we have here. We have the air emission, which is highlighted by a special icon. And this icon is all about that this rule is coming from the shipping company. So it's not, let's say, the international, not national, neither regional or port rule. This is something that is coming from my shipping company. And it's done transparently. Say the shipping company just put this rule in the appropriate portal, and then this rule is actually sent, is transmitted using this NavBox that Richard started this webinar with. And I don't need to do anything, actually. It's all done automatically. So we're just talking about one single source of truth, and we're talking about everything integrated over here. Also, yeah, as I said, some presentation got fixed, and now data is more. There is a pretty straightforward presentation. We don't have any cuts. We don't have any, bad presentation around those areas. So yeah, what else is, as I said, the weather information. I'm just switching to the weather data. Just to release the screen. Have the weather presentation. The can set this on tiles will give me the values, and probably you have them right now. So I'm just moving the cursor, and I clearly see up until the current let's say weather forecast what is the value under my my cursor. Pretty easy to understand, pretty easy to read when it comes to understanding, for example, what will be the weather tomorrow at noon. Then also, you see on the top right corner, and range is the distance to my located in port of now, and I'm just moving, so it just gives me, you know, the from the navigational point, for example, that object. Date if I go into Port of Bergen as an example, and just to show you the full information this port, you see.
Well, there seems to be a connection issue with Vladimir there, I'm afraid. We'll move forward and we'll try and reconnect, but let's put up the rest of the web of the presentation. So just some of the things, a synopsis.
Traditionally,
what we've covered. Maybe we can mute that signal coming through. Thank you. So just to see what we've covered with Vladimir. So we've covered some of the features when the signal was still there. We've covered some of the updates. What we're going to now do is pass across through to the colleagues. So let's move through. So we went through Maritime Security Information, which is a brand new module. We covered off multiple port planning, environmental regulation updates, generation of voyage debriefing forms, maneuvering assistant with full user chart access, extended port information with ADP and berth statistics, and the import and export of user chart files with JRC ECDIS. So without further ado, we're going to move forward now, and I'm going to introduce Rama Bahl and Viet, who likes to be called Vu, who are the experts to go and do a live demonstration. So let's just hope this one goes better. Over to you guys.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Richard, and good day, everyone. Vladimir has given almost a complete overview of the features in new NavStation 6.4. Let's now dive into live demos of a couple of main modules. I will start with the new one, that's Maritime Security. Security threats are growing in volume and complexity, and the landscape is changing faster than a weekly or a daily report can capture. Hence, in partnership with Risk Intelligence, we have created a Maritime Security module, which basically brings the mariner online in terms of maritime security. So without further ado, let's quickly dive into the module itself. You have the standard NavStation desktop. I'm opening the Maritime Security module over here. As soon as you open the module, you see the global incident database. The incidents are categorized into 13 main categories like hijacking at sea, armed robbery, theft, and then further subcategorized into 23 subcategories. For example, theft is subcategorized into theft at anchorage, theft at berth, and theft at sea. In addition to that, we need to note that we are harvesting incident data from Risk Intelligence servers at every 10 minutes interval. So that, and these incidents are being, if there is any new incident, it's being pushed to your nav box. So, we want to ensure that the latest incident data is available to the ship at all times. In the incidents, you will note that, these incidents are geo-referenced on the left-hand side. You can select a time period for these incidents, and you can also select all activities or selected activities or categories in this section. As is with all our other modules, right? This incident data is being overlaid on top of official ENC charts. So as soon as you click on an incident on the left-hand side, the ENC chart moves to the actual location of the incident, and on the left-hand side panel, you see the details of the incident. You can also export this incident data into PDF files, which can be printed or attached as due diligence. Moving on, you can also encounter this incident data by right-clicking on the icon on the ENC navigational chart and selecting the incident, and the incident data is again displayed on the left-hand side panel. Right, moving on to ports. Now we need to understand that the maritime security module is not only about incident data, right? It provides you with threat assessments for ports, for countries, and for cities, right? As soon as I click on one of the ports here, Abidjan, right? Again, you see the ANC has centered on the port itself. You can get a port threat assessment, which is regularly updated and provides you with a detailed threat overview, provides you with a list of threats such as terrorism, piracy, and their level, which is low, moderate, high, or elevated. You can also print this threat assessment and or create a PDF file for the same and attach it accordingly. In addition to that, you get city threat assessment. The city threat assessment is peculiar, because over here you not only get a threat overview, but you also get information on transport to the airport, natural hazards, and the threats are street crime, kidnapping, activism. I believe very important, for the ship staff when deciding on shore leave, repatriation, procurement, etc. And finally, you have a country threat assessment in the same format. Please note that if there are any documents available with regards to statistics or any circulars, all of those are also available within the module itself. So you can make a detailed analysis for a specific voyage. Moving on, we have detailed threat assessments for maritime areas covering security, sensitive, recognized bodies of water, such as Black Sea, Eastern Mediterranean, etc. As soon as you click on Black Sea, again, the ENC centers on that area, it's highlighted, and you get all the incidents in the past year on the left-hand side within that area. You can get a threat assessment for the area itself, similar to what I've explained with regards to country, port, and city threat assessments. And this also can be printed out in a PDF format. Additionally, you get overlays, right? These are official geographic area overlays where we display areas designated by official organizations such as Joint War Committee, MDAT, GOG, IFC, and others. As soon as you click on them, their boundaries are displayed to you on the ENC, and can be utilized when the user is planning a passage or creating a route. In addition to that, you have statistical information available to you. So for incidents, you have overall statistical information for a specific time period. Additionally, you have monthly statistics available for a specific time period where you can select either all categories or a specific category. Here I'm selecting activism, where incidents in October and November are highlighted here. As is the case with all our other modules, we try to integrate our passage planning and route, with the module itself. So in this module also, you get all the routes and passage plans which you have created inside the passage planning module available here. As soon as you select a route, over here I'm going to select a route bit from Beirut to Mombasa. You will see that once I select the route, this route is visualized on the ENC itself, and you can adjust the corridor of this route with the slider available over here. So when I select it to 100 miles, that means it's giving me incidents on the left-hand side panel for the specific time period, 100 miles on either side of the route. That's a 200-mile corridor. You can export this data, the complete list of incidents and the details, and attach it to your plan as required. In addition to that, you can create a circle or a polygon and get a report for those incidents. Say I'm creating a polygon here, And you see, as soon as I create the polygon, the incidents are available to you on the left-hand side here. Right. This is about it for the security module. Please note that our aim with this module is simple. We want to give the master, the ship security officer, and the navigating officer the same situational context that generally is available till date only to the office. That is incidents, assessments, and statistics in one place. Right. So this was about security. I will now just quickly move on to our passage planning module. Right. So we'll be looking at new features in our award-winning passage planning module. Although our focus this year had been on improving the robustness of the system, we are still bringing in some exciting capabilities here. First up is the port of call feature, which adds multi-port planning capabilities to the module. The user can have up to 15 ports in a single passage plan. Let's quickly look at how it works. So let me create a route, which is, let's take 3 ports. I'm taking Lisbon, Gibraltar, and Valencia. I will quickly create a route for this port and create a combined passage plan with these 3 ports. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm using the auto routing feature, which is also available inside the NavStation, to create a new route. Let's create a route. I'll start with the, say, container terminal in Lisbon here, and I am going to straight away plot my second waypoint on an outer berth in Gibraltar. So, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to auto route to this waypoint. Now our auto routing, a lot of you are aware of its capabilities. It will detect traffic separation schemes. It will take into account recommended routes. It is designed to follow recommended paths in the coastal waters, and designed to follow shortest path in ocean and open waters. As you can see, it has automatically created a route till waypoint 23, and it is following the correct lanes within the traffic separation scheme. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to create a route till Valencia now, and I'm going to add a waypoint here in Valencia, which will be waypoint number 24, and then we will auto route to that waypoint. So once the auto routing is completed, we have now created a route. So the first waypoint is the port of departure. The number 23 waypoint is the port of call that is in Gibraltar, and the final waypoint, waypoint number 46, is the arrival at the destination. So what I'm going to do is I am going to quickly create a new passage plan for this route. So as you can see right now, the initial passage plan which is being created is from the port of departure to the port of destination. That is from the port of Lisbon to the port of Valencia. But what I will quickly do is add a port of call over here. And just simply, as you remember, waypoint number 23 was our port of call in Gibraltar. I'm going to add waypoint number 23 here, and you will see that the passage plan will automatically adjust. You can have up to 13 port of calls, total 450 number of ports within one single passage plan. The departure page has now been amended a little. The voyage data section, considering that now we have a couple of legs, we are going from A to B to C. So we have average speed to the next port, sailing time to the next port, voyage average speed, and other such figures. If I move forward, this is a completely new page. This is a page we call the port of call page. So This is for Gibraltar. All of this port details data is automatically fed in. You have the ETA and ETD for Gibraltar. You can feed in your arrival and departure routes for underkeel clearance calculation. The tidal height data, is available for up to 7 days. I can quickly go in the waypoints, and I know that waypoint number 23 is my port of call waypoint. Actually, inside the waypoints also, you can mark the port of call at the bottom. But in the schedule, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a 12-hour port stay in Gibraltar, right? If I go back to the passage plan now, just give it a second for calculating. You will see that your total port stay has been updated over here for 12 hours. Your next page is the arrival page, which is the page for Valencia. Again, most of the data, the port details is being automatically populated. Load line zone, sunrise, sunset timings, time zones are being populated from internal layers here. And you have the tidal data for Valencia being taken from ATT. In the general notes part 1, one new section has been added, which is called the voyage overview section, right? It shows an overview for the first leg, Lisbon to Gibraltar, from which waypoint to which waypoint, distances, ETA, ETDs, and the port stay here. And your second leg, Gibraltar to Valencia. In addition to that, it gives you an overview of the complete voyage in terms of distance, speed, and sailing time and port stay. At the bottom, the passage plan still remains the same, the one which you have been using. The general notes section is only subdivided into voyage leg 1 automatically, which is from Lisbon to Gibraltar, and voyage leg 2, which is from Gibraltar to Valencia. All the NAVTEX stations, all the radio calling points are being automatically populated still based on the legs now. General note part 2, again subdivided into the 2 voyage leg, Lisbon to Gibraltar, Gibraltar to Valencia, and overhead clearance is being calculated for both. I want to highlight one thing in part A. So in addition to the waypoint numbers over here, we have also added a leg waypoint number. Now, considering you have multiple ports, and we know, when you transfer these routes to EGDIS, you might only be sailing from A to B there, and the waypoint numbering can become confusing then. So your EGDIS numbering of waypoints will follow the leg waypoint numbers if you are only sailing between A to B on the EGDIS. All the other pages, they all remain the same. If I quickly go to part additional notes page, now you will have 2 sections, because there are 2 legs of the voyage, to enter additional notes for both the sections in this. So I understand that this is a bit quick, but I just want to quickly cover, what the vessels will initially require, to start using this feature. Going back to the routes page, I'll just quickly save this route. I just want to show one more thing for the port of call module, is that you can now export this, either the complete route, that is from A to B to C, or you can export it in legs. So if you have created a port of call, the system will automatically detect that and allow you to export the voyage legs in whatever EGDIS format you are using accordingly, or in the RTZ format. In addition to that, you can also divide the POC legs as separate routes and save it into the route library. So over here, let's say I want to save Gibraltar to Valencia. I can just select that, and I can create that route, and you see Gibraltar to Valencia is saved over here. Okay, so this is in a nutshell what port of call feature is about. But before I close this demo, I just want to say that with this feature, and really with everything we build in NavStation, for us, it's never only about making compliance simpler for you. That part is a given. What matters to us just as much is giving mariners some time back so they can focus on the things that actually matter. With that, I will pass on to my colleague Vu, who will take you through some other amazing passage planning features that we have introduced. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Rama. And hello, everyone. So beside the introduction of new features, as you have seen, Vladimir and Rama have discussed, we have also made several improvements, both in terms of user interface and refinement of existing features, which result in general improvements to our process planning tool. So allow me now to showcase some of those key improvements. I will start by sharing my screen. Yes. So firstly, we introduce a folder system to the root library, which allow users now a means to organize their root. So as you can see, I have already created a couple of folders here. Let me show you how a folder can be created. So let's say to create a new folder, let's say I want to place this root in a new folder. What I can do is click the extension button, and now we have a new button to add root to folder. I can choose an existing folder, or I can name a new folder. For example, new folder 1. Now that root is now in the folder new folder 1. To add a root to an existing folder, we can do the same thing, or we can click, drag and drop a root into the new folder. And to remove the folder altogether, you can click this button, the extension button next to a folder, and remove. That would put every root back to the root folder, as you can see now. We have also, beside the root library, we also made minor improvements to the root plotting tool. So let's look at a root. This route, for example, between Lisbon and Gibraltar. In previous NavStation versions, when plotting a waypoint to create new leg, user must be in edit mode in order to see the true course and distance of the leg. And after user finish editing and escape edit mode, on the chart view, only the true course is displayed, overlaid over the route. In NavStation 6.4, we now overlay both the course, distance of a leg, and the planned speed permanently over the track line. So it's easier for user now to review a planned route. Moving on, so let's say following the workflow, after users have finished creating a route, as you know, NavStation has a built-in route check functions, which works similar to the check route or route validation functions on Actus. For example, I'll do that here. Now, this with NavStation 6.4, users can now print out a route check report . This is the route check report generated by NavStation. It can be kept for review or record keeping purposes. Moving on to the content of the process plan. Now, allow me now to generate a process plan to demonstrate. I'll just use data from a previously approved process plan. Now, firstly, we now provide user more control over automatically generated data, starting first with the list of radio reporting points. As you all know, NavStation has the capacity to scan ENC data to automatically pick up radio reporting points and enter them into the process plan. This list here. In NavStation 6.4.3 and earlier versions, the list is automized and user intervention was not possible. In NavStation 6.4, users can interact with this list. They can, for example, delete automatically generated points, or they can reset back to the automatically generated list, or user can, for example, add a manual reporting point. For example, at waypoint 11, I will just, for the sake of demonstration, create a manual reporting point. As such, similar to reporting points, NavStation now provide user with the ability to customize and edit the list of overhead obstacles. So user, as in this particular route, there's only one overhead obstacle, which is the bridge as we departing from the port of Lisbon. And user can delete that obstacle or regenerate. Now, this feature is particularly useful in scenarios, let's say, when users passing through swing bridges, like in Panama Canal, that are open, but ENC data provide the overhead, the vertical clearance value as when the bridge is closed. So with the introduction of the features, user can now have much more flexible in customizing automatically generated data. Further into the passage plan, we add steering mode to operational planning. So if you go now into default value tables, we now introduce an item called steering mode. So users can now configure the default steering mode for different sailing conditions. And when users generate a passage plan, NavStation will automatically fill in the default steering mode for each leg in the passage plan. Finally, as Vladimir has introduced, we add to NavStation the feature to generate a debriefing form upon the completion of a passage. So the workflow is as follows all the time. So at the beginning of the voyage, a passage plan is activated and the vessel starts sailing following the planned track. All this time, I had a passage plan activated, this one. Now, upon reaching the arrival port, users can now deactivate the passage plan. When users do that, they have an option to generate a voyage debriefing form. Please note that this option is only available if the activation is upon the completion of a passage plan. Aborted passage plan will not have that option. As you can see, the option is hidden. But for complete passage plan, if user generate a debriefing form, a form will be created. It will be placed in the same folder with the approved passage plan and right next to the corresponding passage plan. If user click on this, as you can see, this is the passage plan debriefing form. So the crew can perform debriefing, they can enter what items have been discussed, and then sign the debriefing form, save it, and then print it out for record-keeping purposes. So the printed out PDF document will appear in this manner. So these are summary of the key improvements we have made to passage planning model. I will now pass on the microphone to Richard to continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vu. A great section there from both Rama and Vu. Let me just keep reminding you, please continue to post your questions. We've got some super questions coming in, which we'll cover in a minute. So please keep posting your questions. I know there are a couple of questions in chat, and we'll try and cover those off as we go through. But just to go through, thank you, Rama, and Vu for covering the section on deep dive into maritime security and the upgrades to the passage planning module. Really interesting. So if we move now to the question and answer session, I'm going to ask all my colleagues to join again. We'll see if we can get a connection back to Vladimir. I'm not sure we can. He's up in deep and darkest Bergen, so that's maybe why his connection was poor. But we've got through to Rama, we got through to Vu as well. So let's have a quick look and try and put some questions on the screen. There was one brief one which has come through Wow, we have Vladimir on the line. Hello, Vlad.
Welcome back. Sometimes they're coming back, you know what they say.
Very good to see you again.
Yes.
I think you just got bored and you moved on. Anyway, let's carry on. I noticed a quick question in the audience chat. There was a question. I'll see if I can pick it up. First piece was on, is there an extra cost for version 6.4? As a rule, NAVTOR do not charge for upgrades to NavStation. However, as you've seen, there's a new module, the Marine Data Security. That is a new module. That is a chargeable module because the data from that comes from risk intelligence. We have to buy that data in. So that is an additional cost. However, the upgrades you're seeing to passage planning, the upgrades to other bits and pieces, the company rules, they're all us giving back to you as free of charge upgrades. We'll come through, and just if at any point anyone wishes to contribute, please, Rama, Vu, and Vladimir, if you just put your hands up if you want to add anything into it. We'll move across to questions very briefly, though. There are a lot of great questions coming in. I'll ask Bjorn if you can put up the first question, and we'll see how we move forward here. Is the first question from Rakesh?
I will take that, if that's okay. Can you hear me?
I can't see it. Oh, there we are. There we are.
Oh, no.
So, how to conduct a performance test and verify system working in order. I'm not quite sure what we're referring to here. A system test. Does anyone want to take how we can test our system and show?
So I think I can take that one. Yeah, first thing is this the status page, of course. The status page is something that you can look into to understand, let's say, if you are fully up to date with respect to data. NavStation doesn't have any things with respect to, you know, running process like clocks ticking or something like that. Something like a validation things that you have in your ACDIS to understand if it's running or not, if it's freezed or not. But the status page will reflect you if the data is fully up to date or not. One thing. Second thing, the performance tests as well. If Rakesh, you're referring to the ACDIS performance test with respect to, for example, running through the charts and chart 1. So NavStation has chart 1 implemented. And this is the latest chart 1 according to the IHO S52, S57 requirements. And this chart 1 can be used, you know, for making sure that NavStation is presenting the ENC according to the rules. So 2 things. Also, we have another tool called Maneuvering Assistant, and Maneuvering Assistant actually is all about looking after your position, speed, and course. And the monitoring page right inside will actually provide you with this one. So this can be used as the proof that the system is running and it's not freezed. Yeah, I hope, Rakesh, you find this answer useful. If not, just continue bombing us with questions.
Thank you, Vladimir. That's very kind. Bjorn, I'm going to ask the first question, which was from Stola. Are there any limitations on how many ports you can add to the passage plan? So this is talking about the new feature, the additional port calls. And I know that was discussed both by Rama and also Vladimir, and I think it was also Vu discussed as well, that there are in total 15 ports you can put in. So it's 13, including the arrival and departure port. So that's what I got from the presentation. I don't think there's any more to add to that one. So Stola, thank you for the question, and I hope that answers the question. Andreas, we've got, is the multiple port function supported by different ACDIS providers? That's a great question. Will it be a separate route file but on one passage plan? So that's a great question. Who would like to take that one?
I will take it. Yeah.
Thank you, Rama.
No, the multiple port passage plan is generally not supported by the ACDIS manufacturers. That's the reason why we are providing you with the option to export a multiple port passage plan into separate legs. So that is available for you within the NavStation. You can have a complete root file, or you can have the files exported as separate links. Yeah.
Thank you, Ram. That's clear. Thank you so much for that question. There's another question here. Murat has asked, can Maneuvering Assistant also use the JRC layer? Slightly off topic here, but I think we can very briefly answer that at this point. Who would like to take that one? Is that yourself, Vladimir?
I can take that one. Yes, it is. So we mentioned during the slides that we started this webinar with is that now both NavStation and Maneuvering Assistant are working with actually Foruna and JRC user layers, and the Maneuvering Assistant will reflect all those. Say if you created or imported the JRC user layer from your EGDIS, from your JRC EGDIS to NavStation, then it will be saved on the nav box. And from the nav box, it will be distributed to, let's say, to your second NavStation and to your Maneuvering Assistant, respectively. So the answer is yes, sweet and quick. And
thank you very much, Vladimir. That's really good. There is a very brief question here from Prashant, which is, are there any new features in NavTracker? The presentation, the webinar today is on NavStation upgrades. So we'll wait for news on NavTracker changes. NavTracker, of course, there's elements of that which are being covered by NavFleet as well. So there are updates changing all the time. But currently we're presenting a NavStation 6.4 upgrade. So no news today on NavTracker upgrades. But thank you for the question. Stoller question again, can multiple port passage plans be extended to 36 ports? Okay, that was the number. I think we covered that off. We can do a maximum 15, which is arrival and departure plus 13. So I think from what we're saying there, it's no. That's probably a little bit beyond the scope. But thank you for the question anyway. Murat, can multiple port passage plans can be used for transit such as Panama or Suez? That is a great question as well. Does anyone want to talk about that and how you'd use perhaps the additional port facilities within the sections for the canal and the canal crossings?
I'll take that. And yeah, it's either side of the canals you have separate ports, right? You can call them transit ports and port of calls and mark them as port of calls in your route and use it. So answer is yes, you can use it for transiting of canals also. Yeah.
Thank you, Rama. That's a great answer. And thank you for the question. Dimitar, can we add a port of call if the passage plan has already been approved? For example, we have a route from Singapore to Valencia, but in the middle of the voyage, the charter adds a port of Algiers before Valencia. That's a great question. And the answer is yes, but I'll pass across for further detail. Rama, did you want to take that one again, or Vu?
Yeah, I'll take that. Okay. So it's simple. Workflow remains the same. You revise the passage plan. So any changes in an approved passage plan can only be made when you revise a passage plan. And if you revise a passage plan, you can add port of calls, remove port of calls as required. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rama. Really super questions, and thank you everyone for these. So we're going to move forward. Gong has asked, do we need new nav sticks for 6.4 version? Answer is no. You're good to go. We need to push the upgrade, but we'll talk about that. There's a couple up. We'll talk about the upgrade process. So we've got that question here from Henning, which is there any extra costs for 6.4? 6.4 NavStation upgrade, there is no extra cost. There is an extra cost for the additional module, which is the Marine Data Security module. But there's no extra cost for the extra features upgrades in NavStation. So thank you for that question. Murat, is there any possibility? Sorry, coming back. If no cost when we push out the update. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Bjorn. That's well done. When we push out the update is not pushed automatically. What will happen is your account manager will call and speak to your office and gain approval for pushing of the version upgrade. the version upgrade will need to be pushed with a passage plan upgrade. It's a very small passage plan upgrade, but that will need to be pushed at the same time. So there is a process to go through, which we manage through the office and your NAVTOR account manager. So thank you for that question. Moving on, sorry, Murat, is there any possibility to print passage settings for reference of a particular voyage? And that the answer is yes. Vu, did you want to take that question?
Yes, I can take that. So to print out passage plan setting, no, it is not possible to print out. There's no function to print out the passage plan settings in NavStation. So user can set this up, and if they want to record, if I understand the question correctly, they want to record the settings in order to share between vessels, or for recording it, they can take a screenshot of the passage plan setting pages, but there's no built-in function to print out that page.
Vu, thank you. That's me not reading the question properly. Thank you very much for that. Of course, you can print out passage plans, but not the settings. So thank you, Vu, for that. Moving on, Andreas, what about implementation of a whale migration areas? Green Award has a focus on that currently. That's a really interesting question. Vladimir, is that, or Vu, or Rama, who would like to take that one?
Yeah, I can take that one, or Rama if you like. But so today we don't have this information in NavStation, but we're going to edit, let's say, in the nearest future. So our next release of NavStation is scheduled for the first quarter next year, 2026. I'm slightly open up the curtains for you guys. This is where we will actually implement this right whales data in NavStation. Not today, somewhere tomorrow.
Thank you, Vladimir. Very kind. And great questions. Another question here from Victor. How to export coordinates from ECA limits for NavStation to plot on ECDIS using environmental regulation? That's a complex question, I think. Does anyone particularly want to grab that question and run with that?
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, at the moment, no, you can't do that. So yeah, you cannot take out coordinates and take it, but in future we are working on how we can integrate this kind of information where when you are entering an ECA area or when you are reaching a destination into the passage plan itself. So.
Thank you. That looks like a future development. So thank you so much for the question. Zaki, even after changing loading conditions from ballast to laden, it shows ballast. But some ADP ENP corrections showed previous week. Is there some lag in software? NAVTOR version, there's a NavStation version 6.3.1. Okay, so this is talking about a previous version of NavStation. Does anyone want to grab that one? Is that you, Vladimir?
Yeah, perhaps we need to look into this closely, or maybe try to reproduce it on the NavStation 6.4. But that's true. We had some issues back in the days with switching between laden and ballast. But it is mainly the template. So we don't need to reinstall NavStation in a whole to get it fixed. But we probably need to look into this closer. So if you could just drop this message to our technical support or our customer support, that would be great, and then we will just jump on this.
Thank you, Vladimir. That's very kind. Mukesh, is there any planned timeline for enabling internal transfer of user maps layers between NavStation and ECDIS without using USB? I think this is an even more complex question, because this is talking about standards between NAVTOR and ECDIS manufacturers as well. So is there anyone who'd like to take this hot potato?
Yes.
Thank you, Vlad.
Yeah, we are actually working right now as we speak, right? And with this ability, like support for Runa and JRC user layers in NavStation, this actually opens up the door into the reality of the exchange of data between NavStation and ECDIS without USBs. And this is what we're working right now. And this is what we're scheduling to get available for you guys in the nearest future. As I mentioned already, the first step would be Q1 next year. So first quarter 2027 will be something very interesting on that front as well.
Thank you very much. And that talks about future plans. Very specific actors manufacturers. We have to go manufacturer by manufacturer, my belief is. So thank you for that answer. Next question. Does the system support dynamic updates if conditions or port schedules change mid-voyage? So again, a complex question and subtle in its reach. Rama, you're shaking your head. Did you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can take it.
Thank you.
Right now, there's no way in which updates to your schedule are linked with the NavStation. At this point of time, the revision with respect to change in schedules has to be done manually. So there is no automatic update in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Rama. Mukesh, again, the next question. What is the exact object limit for user layers that the NavBox can store? How can we check or monitor current user layers usage to avoid exceeding the limit? That's a great question. I'll pass to Rama for that one.
Yeah. So at the moment, the current limit is around 4,000 objects, right? We are working on extending that for now, but we will update on that in the future. With regards to the numbers, what is how much has been used or consumed at the moment, it is not shown inside the NavStation. In future, we will look into that. And please be assured that you cannot exceed it. Once you reach the limit, it will give you an error. And then you will probably, at the moment, the workaround is to save the initially created user layers or previously maybe 1 year back and export it and keep it in local storage. But this is something which we are working on, and we want to extend the number of objects, and we will update you as soon as we have some agreement within the team on that. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Rama. And thank you again for all the questions. These are such great questions today. Fedia coming through and asking during the route planning stage, some ports, which are secondary ports, i.e. Tarragona in Spain, do not generate the tidal information as well as they cannot detect the support information. Is this issue fixed in the present version? So that again is a very detailed question. We're talking about data as much as we're talking about the version of NavStation here. So Vladimir, did you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I think Vu can take
the
mic.
I can take that. That is not a bug. It is by design. So by design, NavStation will pick up tidal data from the tidal station closest to the track to the leg in question. And if that closest station, like Fedid mentioned, sometimes secondary ports do not have sufficient data to predict tidal height. And in that case, the value will be empty. And it is due to the availability of tidal data. And it's not a bug, it's purely by design. If such a case, in such a case, user must manually select another station. It absolutely will be further from the leg in question, but it will have tidal data.
Richard, I want to say something over here also. We are trying to err on the side of caution here, right? That's the intention. The farther we move away from the leg or from the point where we need tide for, the less the accuracy is, right? And over here, if we have a tidal port which has insufficient information by not providing you with the data, what we are doing, we are erring on the side of caution. You can add your data yourself. You might have that data from your local agents in the form of local tide tables or such, right? But we do not want to overpredict on that front. Thank you.
Thank you both, Vu and Rama. They're great questions. Another question here. Will the maneuvering assistant work on iOS or Android devices? So far, it's only Windows platform. Well, I can answer this one. NavStation itself is a Windows-based system. Maneuvering assistant is a module of NavStation. So we have no current plans for iOS and Android devices for these. We are developing for Windows only. Is there? Am I speaking out of turn? Anyone there? Is there anything we're thinking of?
Yeah, we're thinking about this for sure. It's not yet ready. That's correct. It's only Windows, Microsoft operating system that this two can be run on. But for sure, Android and iOS is something on the horizon. I won't tell you the timelines in particular because, yeah, that we're actually evaluating the technical abilities right here. Because if we are going to move maneuvering assistant on Android or iOS, then we simply, unplug it from NavStation and have it as a separate application, and so on and so forth. So there are quite a lot of things, quite a lot of questions that we're currently discussing, but for sure that's on our radar.
Thank you, Vladimir. That's that's a good insight to the future. And again, thank you for the questions. So we carry on. Our timing, I know we've gone over, but I think the questions are so valuable. I know people can review if they have to move on, but normally in one voyage, we prepare the passenger plan from departure to arrival berth. Then circumstances change, you have to go to an anchor, and therefore revise the plan. Departure berth to arrival anchorage. In the same passage plan, there can be an option to add an anchor berth. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about here when we're adding an interim port. So would anyone like to take this question and relate it to what was shown during the webinar? Vu or Rama?
Yeah, who can take this?
Yeah, I could take it. So it's absolutely possible. So with the protocol, even without the protocol feature, you can do that. But with protocol feature, you can revise the passage plan and so have the first leg from the departure port to anchorage area, and then have the second leg from anchorage area to the berth. So yes, absolutely is doable.
Thank you, Vu. That's very kind. And the next question is on a similar vein, and we can probably cover it off very quickly as well. If you'd like to revise a passage plan due to any issues, example, there's an anchorage in Delaware Bay. After 5 hours, the canal is available. So this is talking about exactly that interim or holding anchorage. Did the last answer cover this, or do you think there's a more to add to this, Vu?
So in order, yes, I can add one thing that, because it involves presenting this to the authority. So every time you revise a passage plan, a new passage plan will be created with the name, adding the word revise above that, and the date and time in UTC regarding when the revision was made. So you now have a new passage plan, not an edited version, not overwriting the original plan. So you still have the original passage plan and revised plan every time you do a revision. So you would have a trace of changes made from the original plan to the latest version of the passage plan, and you can use that as a record of the passage planning process. Thanks.
That's super. Thank you, Vu. Let's carry on. Is it possible to change a protocol without clearing the passage details up to a certain waypoint? Again, Rama, for that one?
Is it possible to change a port of call without clearing the passage details? Yes, because the port of call, it's associated with a waypoint number, right? So when you assign a waypoint number, so all the details for that waypoint is what it is associated with. So answer is yes, yeah.
Thank you very much, Rama. Moving on quickly, the next question is auto routing feature. It's talking, can we set the systems to avoid special areas such as echoes or SECA route zones automatically, or do we need to manually define avoid areas in the ENC? So that is a great question. I don't believe that's a function available yet. Vladimir, did you want to discuss that one?
Yes, Richard, you're always right. So this feature is not because you're trying to sell this one as well, right? It's not available today. It is something for sure we're looking forward. So auto routing in the future. Again, we're talking future, quite a lot of future these days. But otherwise, what's the point, right? So auto routing is something that is having its own roadmap in terms of improvements, and this echo and SECA zones is one of those. Another one would be, we touched it today, the right whales and the speed limitations. So those routes that this auto routing will generate, it will also give us the the speed limits. And if we extend it, then we will have appropriate highlights about this one. Also, the user layers, say in the user layers, you can set up the attribute like no go or go, but with limitations. And then auto routing should also consider this one, which is not doing today, but it will be doing that in the future for sure.
Thank you, Vladimir. Are you writing frantically down new features and modules? Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you so much for these questions. They are really insightful. Batu, really good question here. Is the new JRC ECDIS user map import-export feature compatible with all JRC ECDIS versions, or is it limited to specific versions? That's a really good question. Again, very specific question. Does anyone want to take this one?
Yeah, I can take that one. Yeah, we try to make it universal to support all the ECDIS brands, all the, let's say not the ECDIS brands, but all the versions of JRC. But if there is something not working, then let us just know, because we have a few examples in our lab, a few JRC ECDISes that we're playing with, and also we're having the close contact with the manufacturer itself. So they're pretty responsive and they're pretty helpful when it comes to those kind of things. So again, the format we implemented is universal, and we do hope that we support all. But if we don't, then of course we are ready to look into this one.
Thank you for the great question, and thank you, Vladimir, for the insights in that. Paul asks, is it possible to complete each leg from multiple ports in the passage plan, or multiple ports passage plan? I'm not quite sure I understand the question on this one. Does anyone else have a view on this? Vu or Rama?
Each leg from, is it possible to complete each leg from multiple ports? I'm actually not exactly understanding the question.
No, Paul, maybe Paul, if you can write in with a sort of a brief update to that and just maybe give some specifics, that'd be great. We'll come back to that one. But thank you for the question. Can we create user map in NavStations and after transfer it to ECDIS? That's a great question. Rama nodding his head frantically there, so I'll let you go through that one, Rama.
No, you can. Its simple answer is yes. That's why, because we understand why we are providing this feature of creating it in NavStation, right? We understand the user interface at times what ECDIS offers is not very conducive to making user layers very quickly. That's what NavStation, improves on, right? The user interface of NavStation helps you to create these user layers faster, so that you can create it here and then transfer it to the ECDIS. Thank you.
Thank you, Rama. And a follow-up question from Fadir asking about user layers. How do we transfer it from NavStation to ECDIS and maneuvering assistant? So that's referred to manual, but Vu, did you want to cover that one off?
So in the inside NavStation's user chart layer model, user can click on an user chart file and then click on an object or select multiple objects. On the top of the left panel, there will be a button for export. That is where they can export the user chart layer into an USB and then later on bring that to ECDIS and import through ECDIS. Through ECDIS, import the file into the ECDIS system. Yes.
Thank you, Vu. Great, clear answer. Move forward. Again, I'm not quite sure I understand the next question. Murat, multiple user maps for a single voyage, but does anyone else have a clear idea of what that question is regarding?
I think I can take it. If I understand correctly, Murat is asking whether it is possible to create multiple user charts file for a single voyage. It's absolutely possible, yes. If I understand the question correctly, yeah.
Thank you, Vu.
Yeah.
Okay, when requesting ADP from NavTracker, each item has to be selected individually. So this is referring to NavTracker, not NavStation. Someone whose system is difficult and often results in purchasing only one ADRS. Will there be improvements for this in the future? Okay, so this is about purchasing and and outfit management within NavTracker, which is not really in the remit of what we have here. But is there anyone who would like to take this really quickly and see if we can cover it off? Vladimir?
I can make a try. So we call it portfolio management. It's all about, planning of the stuff and ordering the stuff that you will need as a part of general portfolio, not only, let's say, focus on charts and publications, but all the data you need. And there are works are happening with this right now. It may be, we will probably extend NavTracker, or we will probably add this portfolio management right inside NavStation, right? So it will be a complete planning station without the need to jump here and there. For the navigators and for the shore users, since we have a tool called NavFleet for the superintendents working from the shipping company offices, they will also be able to see those orders and maybe to prepare the orders for them in a simple way, considering the experience that we are facing right now with the NavTracker. So, for sure the improvements are coming. For sure we're looking into this one, but again, that's not for today, and that's not the topic for this webinar. But this is the portfolio management improving and portfolio management continuation of the development of this, let's say, term.
Thank you, Vladimir. And you're pulling back the curtains and showing us a future we're going towards. So thank you for the question. That was really good. Next question. We've only got a few more, and I know we're over time, but we'll push through. Do you expect that hardware improvements will be required to run the new updates smoothly? Any specific minimum specs as to RAM, minimum disk space, etc.? That's a great question. We do specify with a NavStation, we do have a minimum specification for a PC. I don't know whether that's actually published. It's certainly published through account managers. I don't know whether it's published. Does anyone want to talk about the new requirements with the new software? Vladimir?
Well, the requirements are the same.
Yeah.
Say, if you have computers that you dedicated for NavStation today, then these computers should also be fine with 6.4. We did not, extend the product that it needs to consume more data, more RAM, more CPU, more performance from your computer. So the requirements are the same, and we have the hardware requirements spec for the computer in terms of required disk space, in terms of required operation memory, operation system, CPU, graphics, etc., etc. I can tell you even more. We did some, improvements inside the NavStation with respect to the usage of the graphics. So back in the days, the CPU was using it a lot, and it actually caused some glitches in the NavStation. Now we improved this one, so now we're using the right parts of CPU. Let's put it simple to the explanation. But nothing with respect to this. So if you guys are running with previous NavStations on your computers, and those computers, they should also afford the latest NavStation without any issues.
That's good to hear, Vladimir. Thank you. Henning coming through with another question. We have a TechDis on board. We can import rules from NavStation to TechDis, but cannot import from TechDis to NavStation. Is there a plan to make this possible? Again, we're talking about other things. Vu, did you want to cover this one off?
Yes, this is something we need to take a look at. I will take a look and follow up with this. If there, and we will make it compatible with TechDis in the future. Yes.
Super. Thank you, Vu. That's really kind. Going on to Gong's question, auto routing is it ship specific and draft specific set on NavStation? So it does have its own set of settings. It is certainly ship specific. Does anyone talk specifically about auto routing, or do we point people to the webinar that was auto routing specific?
Yeah, we can take it. At the moment, it's not type and draft specific, but we are working on it. That's the brief answer right now, that there is work in progress on that regard. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's kind. We'll move on to Murat. Is it possible to convert XML to UCHM file formats for ECDIS to share? Okay, that's probably quite technical. Is that Vladimir? Is that yourself? And I'm not sure why you. Okay, did you want?
Which files are we talking here? Is it roots or user layers or what exactly? Yeah, everything is possible, but not quick. It's just a matter of time, right? Because we're talking about a professional and, in some respect, the conventional system, which is looking after your safety, right? So, yeah, for sure, we can look into this one. I assume these are files, the universal files, and we can do it because, and the beauty is that the converters that we are having implemented inside NavStation, there's something like a separate modules, and we can update those separate modules without a need of updating the entire NavStation product as a whole. And this is the beauty of this, the modularization of the product. And yeah, we can look into this one. But sure, we would be highly appreciative if you can be specific what you are talking, what you are meaning. Is it roots or user layers or something else with respect to this conversion?
Murat, thank you for the question. What I've suggested is perhaps take it offline and go through to your account manager, and then feed that directly through to technical and through to the product management if that's something that's really required in field. So thank you for the question. In future versions, will there be an option to search for specific temporary or preliminary notice and automatically display its location and related information within NavStation? Okay. Who wants to take that one?
Yeah, I can take it. The thing is that so majority, of the vessels operating on ENCs, are working with AIO right now, right? Are not using a specific PPTNP notices in general. Within the AIO, this is the first time, we have had such a requirement come in, to make it searchable. So we will look into it and see if the feasibility works for us. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I know we're pushing at a hard stop within the next 3.5 minutes. We've overshot, I'm afraid. We're going to try and cover a couple more questions while we're there. There is a question, Catalan, asking user maps import feature. Will this be available for Transverse Navisator 4000? Who shall I pass that on to Vladimir?
Yes. Well, it's a good question. It's a valid question, right? But I don't have the answer right now. So we are actually we're making the contacts with the owners of Transverse Navisator 4000 MFD system, to call it. And yeah, we're just waiting the answer from them, because it's all about for us to get the description, to understand what is what and how to work with it. And unfortunately, up until this second, we haven't got anything from the guys who are developing Transverse Navisator. But stay tuned. Maybe we'll get something on that, and it would also be possible to implement the user layers. And also with this one, I see Murat just commented the user maps conversion. Yes, Murat, we don't have it today, but we can look into this conversion for sure. That's actually bringing us back to the previous question with respect to the files, the UCMN. Back to you, Richard.
Thank you very much. I think we're probably on the last question here. We can cover off. Hussein, thank you for this. While preparing the passage plan for depths in some areas are not showing automatically in passage plan for calculating the UKC, has this been fixed? I'm not convinced this is a fix that's required. If you look at when you actually do passage planning, it's all about XTD and what you're actually bringing in depths that are attributed to the leg. So I don't know whether anyone wants to go more specific with this.
I can tell it.
Thank you.
Yes, so there are 3 reasons why the automatic depth picking function in NavStation does not pick up any depth. First is we disable. It is user configurations. Second is that you don't have charts for the area. So if that is the case, update the chart. The third reason is that NavStation cannot accept the ENC database inside NavBox. And that usually happens in the old versions after an update, where after a chart update, NavStation needs some time to rebuild the chart database. And if user use the depth picking function too early before the database fully rebuilt. They will not see the depth value, and it usually automatically fixes after a while, after NavStation has completed the process. So it's not really a bug here.
Thank you, Vu. That's a really good and detailed answer on that one. Thank you. We are hitting that hard stop, I'm afraid. There are some more questions. We'll try and go directly back to those questioning with some answers. But thank you very much. I just thank you for your time today. It's been a really deep dive into our new NavStation version 6.4, the new features, the new modules that are attributed to it. I thank the panel. That's Vu, that's Rama, that's Vladimir, and thank you for our always present Bjorn, who's been making sure this happens. But thank you for your time, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next webinar. We're not going to publish yet a date, but we'll go through the usual route and push that out as a newsletter and update. But we'll look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. But thank you for your time today, and we hope we answered some questions and provided some value. Thank you.